Good morning, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to share my presentation of my teaching process. The text I'm going to teach is titled, In Search of Devil's Man. I have 4 teaching aims. For this text. So first, I like to help students to get familiar with the writing style, and then it's very easy for them to analyze the structure. And later on, I will focus on the new words. And last one, I will develop students' critical thinking of the topic shown in this text, which is globalization. And next, I want to make clear of my teaching focus. My teaching focus will be on to analyze the text in discourse level. Okay? And third, since my students are non-English majors, so they will come across the new words and language points in the text. So my difficult points of this text will to help their develop their ability to use the new words and language points. So last, I'd like to share my teaching procedure. I adopt discourse analysis methodology and communicative approach in my reading text. So based on these methodologies, my teaching procedure falls into 3 parts: pre-reading activities, while-reading activities, and post-reading activities, which altogether account for 5 periods. So first, pre-reading activities will account for 1 period, are designed to activate students' background knowledge and arouse their interest in reading the text. So for this text, I want to show them a video in which the famous enterprises, businesses, companies are doing business internationally. And I want students to think about what is happening nowadays for the business. And so they may think about the globalization of the enterprises. So I want them then to think about what are your examples of globalization of businesses. So, and after that, I will lead them to the text of the title of the text. I usually treat them to think about, if you were the writer, what are you going to write? To train them the creativity and the writing ability. After this part, I will introduce some background information, the cultural backgrounds. So in this part, I will introduce the Devil's Man and World Economic Forum. Okay. So this is a pre-reading activity. And then while-reading activities account for 3 periods. In my class, my students are the center of the class. I am the organizer, the helper and guide to help them and lead them to read and help them learn how to learn. Okay? So I will take several steps in while-reading activities. The first, I will help them to tackle with new words. I won't cover all the new words in the text, only select some key words and active words to illustrate so that they can remember. So the words I choose are identity, globalization, emerge, witness, and forum. First, I will try to develop them to guess the words, the meaning of the words from the context. And then after that, I will give a clear explanation of the new words from the pronunciation, parts of speech, and synonyms and usage. Okay. After that, I will design a kind of activities or games for them to practice. For example, word puzzle or quiz. Okay. After that, the second step goes to getting the main idea. We will practice scheming, reading strategy to help them to get the main idea. Go through the passage quickly. What is the standpoint of Devil's Man? What is the writing style, which is the characterizes argumentation. Okay, and then comes to the structure. I will help them to think about what will the argumentation composed of. Okay? So the beginning part, the author usually first describe a phenomena and some facts, and then comes to the standpoint. Okay, after that, there is usually a counterpoint, and the author will use several facts and evidence examples to prove his own opinion. And at last, the paragraph 11 comes to the conclusion. Okay. So I will ask students what is the function of the first two paragraphs, which are the examples, and lead to his standpoint, and what is devil's man? What does devil's man meaning? Okay, and what is the author's standpoint? What is the standpoint? What are the facts he proposed to prove his standpoint? And what are the counterpoints in paragraph 4 and paragraph 9? What facts and evidence and examples were proposed to make his standpoint convincible in paragraph 5, 6, 7, and 8? Okay. And then we're going to learn the text in detail. I will paraphrase some difficult sentences, okay, and point out some language points, new language points for them to practice. So this is the while reading activities. So the last one is the post-reading activities will account for one period. Is used and designed to have an overview of the text, and then to have a connection with the students' real life, and through light on their personal response to the text. So first, I will have an overview of the text. What is the standpoint of the author? What are the facts proposed? What is the conclusion? So the globalization will be inevitable, okay? And the conclusion are you should balance the standpoint of the national identity and globalization. So and then I will let them to talk about, do you agree with the author? If you agree, what is your examples? Can you propose your own examples? And if you disagree, what is your idea? What is your evidence? And then I will let them to think about what are the standpoint, what are the advantages and disadvantages of globalization. And then they are going to write a summary of the text, and then to write a composition, which is writing practice, to practice their writing of argumentation. So the theme is globalization. What is your point of globalization? Okay? So this is on my part of my teaching process. Thank you very much.
Well, here we have two questions for you to answer. The first is national identity and loyalty have been much talked about, especially in the last few decades. Are they still as important as before in a growingly globalized world, according to the author?
Yeah. Thank you for your question. So first, we have seen many examples that globalization has become welcomed and unstoppable in nowadays. Okay, so I hold the standpoint of this is something real and true in nowadays. Since I am an English teacher, and I want to illustrate this point from the English. So. English has become a widespread and international language.
Your answer has to be addressed to the text.
Okay.
So, yeah, not talk about your own view of, globalization and the national identity. Okay.
Thank you. So in the text, yes, the author proposed that globalization is welcomed and unstoppable. And he proposed many examples, such as China, India, Germany has become an important role in nowadays. So
does he just present only one view or two different views?
No, two, yeah. He also proposed the counterpoints. Mm-hmm. And the counterpoints are the national identity will be lost while the globalization become more popular. However, the conclusion is that we should balance that we should keep a balance between the national identity and globalization.
Well, the second question is related to the title of this text. You know, this title calls for a bit explanation. Otherwise, the students would find it hard to comprehend. So this title, I think, consists of two different parts. The first part, in search of. What does in search of mean here? And the second part is devotion. What is a devotion? And what's the meaning of the whole title? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Devil's man mentioned in the passage refers to the people who are doing business and political, economic, and sometimes they are the famous stars, and they are get together every year to have a meeting. So
what's the meaning of this term in narrow sense and in broad sense?
Okay, thank you. And in narrow sense, it means people are doing business internationally and losing their national identity. And the broad sense of this word refers to
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.